knows it? After reviewing so many songs by HANABiE, I still end up getting surprised. Hi there and welcome back to Japan, where we're talking about HANABiE's new song, which I heard when someone recommended I listen to it on our Twitch reaction stream. And just the minute I heard it, I was like, yes, I need to talk about this song. Now, obviously, we talked about HANABiE before. We talked about previous ones, songs that they've had, and I've been really taken by the fact that they do something which is really after my own heart, which is just stuffing so many ideas into songs, being both a bit irreverent but also cheeky and self-referential, being crazy but also not just being pretentious. They are just a band who are a lot of fun, a lot of energy, and a lot of creativity. But this song takes them up to an interesting place. So let's break it down. So structurally, this song does what you'd expect from HANABiE, having a lot of ideas in the song, but it bases it around a song structure that's pretty normal, and it does that so well. It's the marriage of all the crazy ideas and a song that basically comes across in a sort of traditional contemporary, rock format that makes it so effective, in my opinion, as a single. I would be surprised if this song doesn't get really, really big. Starts off with the intro. The intro is a nice rock riff, but it's got the shamisen in there. It's got the Japanese shamisen playing, which I always think is a great marriage with rock music. I know some people mentioned it reminded them of Megitsune. I didn't initially get that sort of thought, but then when I thought about it, I was, oh yeah, it does in a way, but it doesn't feel like it's just calling back to that. It just is a really effective riff. Then we get the verse. Loads of fun. We get a pre-chorus where we get in that singing from the guitarist, or I don't remember the names. I never remember names. And then we get that chorus, which is a really shouted sort of chant. It's something that you can just you can just imagine people shouting along to this. Now the whole thing then repeats, but the second verse, you've got a bit of rap coming in, and then we got this bridge, which is kind of like going for the cutesy sort of J-pop idol vibe, whilst also keeping the rock riffs underneath it. The whole thing is working so well. It's cycling through all of these ideas, but it's making them come together coherently. It's making a song that has so many things, but you know where the chorus is going to come around. You know that it's going to be the moment where you can release and just sort of start headbanging along and shouting to the very simple chorus design. It's a real crowd pleaser, but not at the expense of having all of those cool ideas that you would expect from HANABiE thrown in there. So why does this work so well for me, even more so than their previous songs? Well, obviously we heard things like We Love Sweets. That's the first song I heard by them, which I think was the case for many people, and I was blown away just by how mad that was. And it did work, but ultimately it was an exercise in sort of highlighting a lot of craziness, and that was fun. But that's the sort of thing that maybe is not going to get a huge number of replays. You'll get shock plays, but not so many replays from your normal audience. Yeah, some people, but most people not so much. The reason why I think this works so well is all of the mad things in there were done just so well. So we take, for example, the rap bit in the second verse. It was really well delivered. It fit. It was in the right place. It worked. We take that little bit, the sort of pop bit in the bridge. That was genuinely catchy. The chorus genuinely gets stuck in your head, even though it is basically a chant. And the riff is a genuinely good riff. So for me, it's the fact that they've managed to really sort of hone and perfect all the various things they do. This is a song that feels like, yeah, the madness is front and center. They are still relying on that madness as being their selling point, that kind of really blowing you away with just the wow factor. But there is a coherent song constructed here. It is something that you could come back and listen to it over and over again and it still be equally rewarding. It goes beyond the shock value to actually being something genuinely catchy, something genuinely enjoyable, something genuinely that you can play over and over again. Now, tonally as well, this song was quite nice because I feel it's a song that a lot of people can relate to. The music video was really nicely done, a little bit over the top, but they were touching on that subject of, the sort of stereotypical male, middle-aged boss, especially you get in Japan, who's maybe a little bit too bossy or a little bit too touchy-feely with the female employees beneath him. It wasn't done in a gratuitous, over-the-top way as well, which is one of the things I liked about the video. The video was done in a way where it felt real rather than, well, obviously crazy, but it felt like the behaviour of the boss was something where you can imagine that people would be able to relate to that. Rather than them just trying to make him look like some demonic psycho, he was actually just like sort of just being a bit creepy. And I love the fact that the that like the members of the band, they as well, they had that vibe at the time. They were like just reacting like, he's weird. And you've got that Agaretsuko vibe. If you haven't seen that anime, is the one about like the office worker. She's a red panda, but she's an office worker, and then like she goes to karaoke to sing death metal to release her frustrations. It had that vibe. It had the vibe of like genuinely simmering emotions bursting out. Now, obviously, I'm mainly talking about the video, but this again translated into the song. The song kind of went from a fairly it sort of builds up from a fairly normal rock place into sort of more calm vocals towards the chorus, where then it really blasts out. Now, I've said before how, I'm not a big fan of those sort of growling metal vocals. Sometimes they can work. Bands like Passcode really nail it, and there are some examples of that. And HANABiE do it as well, very well, but I think sometimes they overuse that, rely too much on that. But in this particular case, I felt it was nicely done. It was in the place where you wanted to be. It was in the chorus. It was that release of emotion. It was the bit where you use growling for what it's used for, which is growling out your anger, the screams of actually letting out that anger. And it was done in a very rhythmical way as well. It was punchy. It was, like I say, it was like a chant. That, to me, was a good exercise. That it was well used. And again, it's just an example of them using the tools they have at their disposal, but using them really well. They've really got a grip of being appropriate with the way that they use their various techniques here. I felt like this was just emotionally, you could feel the emotion. It felt like this song had some meaning as well as being catchy, as well as being crazy. And that is always a good way of really endearing you to your audience. So in conclusion, I would say that this is the HANABiE song that most feels like the most rounded single. Yes, it might never get as many views as We Love Sweets, which just has a name and a whole vibe that is definitely like going to win on shock value. But I think this song is probably going to win over more genuine fans in the long run, people who genuinely take a liking to the band. I would understand if anyone wanted to say that maybe the instrumentation is nothing particularly intricate going on here, but I don't think that's the goal so much. It's more the ideas are more about the various crazy things that happen with the lyrics and the sounds they throw in. So it's mostly supposed to be a simple rock beat that you can just sort of like bob your head along to with some good riffs and good guitar playing. Ultimately, though, I do think that this is a really nice sign of a band who have not lost their core value of being absolutely mental, but at the same time have injected a feeling to it, which again, I think the video really helps with that. It really does give you a certain feeling of what they're going for. It's something that I feel could be related to as well. Plus, at the same time, it is just quite catchy in a really weird way. Now, obviously everyone's going to have a different opinion, but as I say, I think this is probably the most effective song, and I really like this. This to me is a sign that they've gone beyond being a kind of a novelty, and they're actually becoming a seriously interesting thing. I said when I listened to this at the end of live chat that this kind of reminded me of, not exactly, but there is a feeling, and again beyond the Megitsune reference, but this reminded me of kind of where baby metal almost were when they started. What made baby metal so big is that they are convincingly a rock entity, but they're also metal entity, but they're also convincingly kind of fun and poppy and willing to do those crazy things that a lot of metal bands wouldn't do. They are convincingly mashing those things together with a quality vibe, and that's a really strong place to be. They're both, they both remind me of that baby metal element, but at the same time, obviously being distinctly different in so many things about the execution. So yeah, I thought this was really encouraging. I'm looking forward to what they have next, and certainly where they go from here, how they're going to look to sort of mix up their sound in future. Because they throw so many things into songs, you're wondering, what else have they got? I would love to hear a HANABiE ballad. How bad would that be? Anyway, there you go. Those are my thoughts. As always, get in the comments, let me know what you think, and until I hopefully see you very soon in Japan for the next one. For now, ciao, ciao.